Can you hear me? Okay. My talk doesn't have AI in the title. I hope that's not a problem. There's some connections, so we will come to that later on. So first of all, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me. Now, I'd like to share you how at VRT Archives we are currently investigating semantic technologies to organize our data and how we are engaging with the EBUCorePlus Ontology. My talk is mainly divided into three parts. So first, I'm going just to tell you about our current situation. So it's not a state-of-the-art talk that I'm going to do. We are investigating so the current situation is a main main reason why we try to do this. Then I'm giving you a small introduction into ontologies and EBUCorePlus. I'm sure that lots of you already are acquainted with them, but I don't think it's a bad idea to do that. And then we are diving into our plans that we are already doing, but planning to do during the next coming year. So, as I said, our current situation at the VRT Archives is mainly this. We have three main MOM systems. The first one is Avid Interplay MOM, which handles video and audio content, along with some additional material like scanned documents and stuff like that. Subtitling, it has also the technical requirements to do that. The second one is NOAA MediaArc that we use for music, both commercial and non-commercial audio, so no film there. It also includes supporting materials like booklets or scanned documentation. And finally, we have a photo DOM, which is used both for archiving and to provide promotional images for press and programs. All of these systems contain a mix of legacy archive content, often from big digitization projects, and newer digital-born material that flows into the system, mostly in a semi-automatic way, sometimes manual, but most incoming material is done by automatization and integration with other systems. And this is where we come to this picture, which is not important for the details, but is it's just an attempt for our architectural team to inventorize all current production systems, planning systems, and things that are used at VRT. So it's not even all. So there's lots more where that came from. But just to give you an impression of, as an archive, if you want to automate as much as information coming in as possible, it's a hard task. So here, there's another image that explains this a bit. Now, the patchwork of tools here can become very hard to manage or scale sustainably. That's why our data and intelligence team, which is not in the archive, it's the part of the technology team, has been building a central data platform that gathers data from different systems. And the goal is to generate value that you see in the right corner there through reporting, analytics, automation, recommendation, stuff like that. Now, this team works in a very use case driven way, which makes a lot of sense. I mean, they get a question from the programmers to know certain things about their content and how it is interacting with the public and stuff like that. At the same time, it doesn't quite meet the archive's long-term need for consistent and structured data organization. And this is pretty much where ontology comes in for us. So an ontology helps structure data semantically. So it's, you can read this in this small definition here. An ontology is a formal description of knowledge represented as a collection of concepts within a specific domain and with possible relationships between these concepts. So because of its formal descriptions, but that it uses human language to make statements about things, an ontology is readable and understandable by both human and a machine. So it's, the intention is to make something really understandable. The technical language for ontologies has been around largely unchanged for the last 20 to 25 years. So it has shown its robustness. It's not a fancy new thing, but it's, we do believe that it's still valid and an interesting concept. So for example, if you take the concept a human, so a human can have typical generic properties such as a birthplace, a sibling, a parent, a birth date, and things like that. And in an ontology, you can express these properties very securely, such as the notion that a person must have only one birthplace or can have 0 to more siblings, etc. So the expression of a subject and a property or a predicate to an object is what is called a triple in an ontology. So an ontology actually exists of a very large number of triple statements. Now, the concept human, of course, can have real-life instances. We call these individuals, like Shirley Bassey here is an individual. So a human can have a birthplace. We know that from the concept. So the birthplace of Shirley Bassey is, as the natives know, Cardiff. So Shirley Bassey has place of birth Cardiff is also a triple statement. Bassey is, of course, a well-known singer. For example, for the song Goldfinger, which is a song, of course, and itself is the theme song of the movie Goldfinger. Everybody knows that. Now, Cardiff, as also other famous people here, were born here, like Roald Dahl. He's a writer, famously known for his children's books, but also, and I didn't know that, is the writer of a screenplay to a certain film, You Only Live Twice, which is also a James Bond movie. So James Bond is the franchise movie which around the person of James Bond, of course, which is invented by Ian Fleming. And so you can make all these relationships. And so note that these relationships tell you something more than just Roald Dahl wrote You Only Live Twice, but which is only true if you know you're talking about the screenplay of the film. Does it? Okay, sorry. Oh yeah, here. Sorry, I have too much text on my, if I must make it a bit larger there. Sorry. Thank you. So in this way, we treat people and places just not like labels or tags in a system, but as entities with their own properties and meaningful connections between them. So the nice thing about ontologies is that because they're consistent and technical construction, so it's a language that you can repeat and that other systems can understand, they can easily be exchanged. So you can take an existing ontology and reuse it partially or integrally. So if you're looking to build an ontology for a broadcasting organization, as we at the archives want to do, it's wise not to reinvent the wheel and instead evaluate what already exists. And there's where EBUCorePlus comes in. EBUCorePlus is an ontology developed by EBU, by the, with a group of people there, and has been around for a year or two, and is a follow-up of EBU's metadata standards such as EBUCore and CCDM, and is currently finalizing its first makeover. So just a small introduction. It's a high-level introduction. You can also see it at their website. They have Jürgen, the leader of the group, has made some very nice movies about it. But I want just to give you a quick introduction. So first, in the center, we have the editorial domain. So this is the center of a broadcaster. It's all about creating content. It can be expressed in works, content intended to be consumed as a whole, groups who express larger concepts that hold more than one work or group, such as a fiction series divided in several seasons and episodes. And also in smaller segments can be described, of course, such as shots or scenes. And also there can be a certain order in which these editorial works are placed within a group, for example. On the other hand, we have production, of course, is the execution of editorial decisions. Of course, they interact dynamically, resulting in essence, such as a file, for example, that is used for publication. We have the participation domain, describes who is involved in the editorial and production domain. The definition of an involvement there, you can see that, that connects the agent to the production job or the editorial object, allows for richness. So it's possible to attach specific roles or dates or even locations to the involvement that a person has to a production job or an editorial object. There's also a legal and commercial aspect to it, of course, which hold contracts and stuff. You have the audit to check whether files are consistent or metadata is missing or stuff like, etc. We have the planning, also publication, describes the publication events and the services, channels, platforms, and devices through which content is distributed. These can also be used in the editorial context as, for example, that you can make clear that a certain editorial object is intended to be publicized on a certain service, which has consequences for making the content. And of course, consumption, which can hold information about the consumer and his behavior. So all of these domains are connected to each other through specific relationships and between classes. So you can have all these arrows there. Just waiting to play. Okay. Now, as a use case and a test case, we took an annual charity event, which is called the Warmste Week at VRT. The event is centered around a central theme. This year it was loneliness, just a general concept. It builds up during the year. It's lots of engagement with the public. And it ends in a culmination point in the week before Christmas. This event comprises 5 days of live radio and TV streams with concerts, interviews, live reports, music requests. It's also a collaboration of different VRT brands and productional units. So it produces very heterogeneous types of content, but with dedicated stories spanning over different periods of time. So we took data from diverse documents. They just organized it in a Teams situation, and just took information from it, seeing if we can actually model it into EBUCorePlus, just to see how it works, to get to know the language. So we used Protégé, which is an open source ontology modeling tool, which allows for creating individuals just as test data actually derived from the classes defined in the model. So EBUCorePlus, so this is a screenshot from the graph interface of Protégé. So it proved to be a robust model that allows for capturing most relevant information in the workflow. Now I hope all this information is not too confusing, so I just want to have a quick recap on why exactly we are doing all this work. So if we go to back to our mom systems that we described in the beginning, we had the luck or bad luck that these systems are all kind of end of life at their current setup. It's nothing to do with the vendor or something like that, but it's just the way they are set up and are not going to take much longer. And the issue is that as BBC here has a beautiful new building, we are also building our own state-of-the-art new building, but it has consequences for the resources of technology. So we decided not to replace any system before we are actually moved. And this creates an opportunity because it makes, it's not a one-on-one system replacement that we are necessarily looking for. We want to really understand how we can make it more future-proof, understand the data that is in these different systems, and more being able to connect them between the two. So we have, of course, we have music in one system, we have interviews with the artists in video in the other system, and this is where we actually want to make the connection. So we are currently analyzing our tooling and connecting it to the ontology. So also worth mentioning is the Mosaic project, which is a European funded project, which is pretty much like Alexandre's AI hub, a way for mainly smaller broadcasters, specifically focused on small European languages such as Catalan and Czech and stuff like that. It's a platform that will also have AI services on there, and people can upload their content, share content, and make use of the AI services on the platform. We are not going to participate in that part of the project, but we are documenting our ontology trajectory to see if it can inspire future ways of connecting the data from one broadcaster to another, for example. Now, of course, different questions that we still have also there. Do ontologically structured data serve more efficient AI? Which is an important question. If you have a clear model of your data, generally speaking, LLMs should have, and it's been proven in some cases, less computational power to get to the right answers for your questions. So also another question that we still have is, does ontology have a place in the data platform that we showed at the beginning? So can it add to the current use cases in value creation, or should discovery and searchability of the VRT archive be added as value creation, which I do believe. And in that case, we also believe that the ontology can serve as a common language, or at least as a resource of exchange of data, integrations, and the like. Just a quick overview of our current setup. So we have a staging environment where we use tools for modeling. I already mentioned Protégé. We do use enterprise architect Sparks for modeling at VRT. So there we try to make sure that we are consistent between the two. We have just an Atlassian Bitbucket to work on the ontology. And for data storage and exploration, we chose to go for the cheap but W3C compliant technology from Apache, which makes it possible to, if we want to migrate later to another system or another database, it's very compliant, so we don't have too much trouble with that. Rather than you have all these annotated graph like Neo4j, which are a bit more complex, which are easy to use, but a bit more complex if you want to migrate. So we all have this on the AWS cloud that's also used by the data platform. Now, since AI and more generally software is playing a continuously growing role in the creation of or transformation of data, we feel the need to trace and integrate the knowledge about these tools into our ecosystem. For example, to which version or model has provided an automatic summary or face detection, speech to text, especially when you're not going to have a human that is taking these AI data and validate them. We want to know what it actually has done that. And this is a piece that doesn't exist yet in EBUCorePlus. So this is something that we are developing our own, which is a subclass of an agent next to a person or an organization. Also, a computational agent can perform a task within your ecosystem and should be clearly traceable, so that you can actually do in a later time when you have better resources, you can only redo that part that was actually done by a certain AI instead of doing everything once again. So we do this both in Protégé as in the Sparks Enterprise Architect tool. Then another thing that has been indicated by the EBUCorePlus team is that the rights class is yet not fully ready yet. So there we are currently performing interviews with various departments within our organization and really see where the needs are for structured access to rights information and also partial access to rights information, because you cannot just make contracts available to the whole organization and make them readable to see what they can actually do with the content. It should be clearly stated in structural information. There are some systems who do that at our place, but yet again, it's not connected through all this mishmash. And we propose, of course, our developments to the EBUCorePlus team. They have just a GitHub discussion board, and everyone is free to join, by the way. You can propose things, and they have a meeting and accept it to be implemented in a future version. So this is what we are also going to do is the Mosaic project. All this work will be documented and shared with the partners of that project. And this is pretty much our planning. So we have until the end of Q1 of 26. So it's going to be a lot, I think. So thank you. I hope I have no idea.